Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anna Sotirovska, Partner Engagement Manager at Knowledge Point, and we are here today to talk about the importance of BIM and BIM implementation across Nigeria. I have here with me Christopher from Gribs, and I'll let him introduce himself. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Christopher Belonwu, Project Manager of Gribs Integrated Services Limited. We are Autodesk partners. I am an Autodesk certified instructor, a project manager, a registered builder here in Nigeria, and of course, a lecturer with our building department, Niger Delta University, Bayelsa State. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction, Christopher. Let's start with the first question. The Nigerian construction sector faces challenges such as technological gaps and fragmented workflows. How is digital skills development and BIM in particular going to benefit educators and students?
All right, thank you so much. We have to really understand that we are in the era of construction 4.0. The way construction was done previously in Nigeria is not the way it is now, especially globally. So for educators, this new development, this new initiative needs to be translated to the classroom from the first year, of course, up to the final year. Then the students in the various institutions, they need to start being prepared for the expectations in the industry. And those expectations are the adoption of virtual realities, BIM, and so on. Because of the peculiarities of Nigeria, in as much as the school may not be able to provide all the needed information, I think students should also equip themselves to know that this is the expectation of the industry. Once they leave the school environment, it becomes very easy to fit into the industry anywhere in the world. So that is the expectation. Thank you.
Thank you. What challenges do instructors and students face when it comes to integrating digital technologies and BIM into construction education?
The challenges in terms of technology are enormous. Nigeria has been classified as a developing country, so you still have issues of internet connectivity, right? And most of these workflows requires that cloud-based, right? And so they require super internet connectivity and so on. And most times what you have down here or over here in the country may not really actually permit you to implement that. That is in terms of internet connectivity. So one of the challenges we have is that you just try as much as possible to create an environment that will support what you are trying to translate. And in creating that environment, of course, it becomes cost intensive. One other challenge we also have in implementing that is the cost of infrastructure. For you to actually implement maybe a software using Revit and so on, there is a specification of a computer system that should enable it. Now, most of these systems, because all these products are mostly imported, they're always on the high side. So you have a situation where the lower grading systems are used. And because of that, it becomes very difficult to install multiple systems, multiple software in a system that should actually help to implement this workflow. If you want to bypass this process, it means you really need a specialized system where all the required information are available or are provided. And in that system, Of course, it's not something I think can really be funded by all institutions, except maybe some private institutions or those institutions that the government has made deliberate effort to ensure they have those facilities. Then another challenge we have in terms of technology, that is with educators implementing this BIM in higher institutions, issues of software. But I think Autodesk is doing great work on that, because I know that now educators can actually go online and gain access to most of these student versions. And of course, those student versions are strictly being used under strict regulations, that it has to be in school environment, only for students, and so on. But generally you have that issue. This information is not actually out there to everybody. People need to be aware that there is such an opportunity in terms of software, especially for educators. So we need to really pass that information. Then the next thing we also have to, or one of the challenges we also have in the country, is issues of capacity building. BIM is evolving, right? It's evolving in the country. Some of us are privileged to be involved in this, or to have this knowledge, because we picked interest and we've actually tried to progress or to climb with the level of technology. Like I said, using Autodesk products since 2004, and later worked with an ATC, Autodesk Training Center. Later had my PhD on BIM implementation. So I may not really be fair if I value the knowledge of other educators with my knowledge. Educators that may not really have heard about BIM and so on. So for those educators, it's very important that there is continuous training, just like what we did with the DT for TVET. There is continuous training for the educators. Deliberate effort should be made for these educators to really know how to implement this BIM. Because one thing I've also discovered, I interact with a lot of people. Most of these BIM that are taught theoretically, BIM is not something that should be taught in theoretical way. It's something that should be experienced. It's something that should be practiced. So where that knowledge is not there, where that technical knowledge is not there, it becomes very difficult for educators to give what they do not have. So there is need for deliberate training of educators to make sure that they are able to equip these students ready for Industry 4.0. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Moving on to the next question. How is Gribs integrated services through the DT4TVET initiative helping to build capacity and capability for educators and professionals across Nigeria?
All right, thank you so much. The DT4TVET, the Digital Transformation for Technology for TVET, was actually a project that was sponsored by it's a transnational collaborative project between Edinburgh Napier University and University of Uyo, funded by British Council and facilitated by Dr. Isaac Kedashi. Gribs Integrated Services Limited, we are privileged to be the Nigerian consultant for the implementation of this here in Nigeria, and we played that role very well. Now, what we've actually done, and going forward, what we expect to do, or what we expect the outcome of this DT4TVET to actually be, is that we want a situation where schools can start making deliberate efforts to start equipping their schools and start making deliberate efforts to start training their resources. Schools also need to start making deliberate efforts to see that when people graduate from their universities or whatever higher institution they have, they're able to fit into the needs of the industry. That's exactly what Gribs is doing. You know, the DT for Tibet is just one of those initiatives we've done. We've been discussing with schools, partnering with schools, professional bodies, you know, propagating the importance of technology in the adoption of the importance of technology in the implementation of construction in Nigeria. You know, we've spoken in workshops, in seminars, and we've actually had series of training for schools. And we are not stopping there. We have to keep on with that pressure. We have to keep on pushing forward until we start seeing appreciable gains in Nigeria and in the industry.
That's great. Please share examples of how hands-on training and immersive technologies are helping instructors and students gain confidence and apply BIM in real-world scenarios.
All right, thank you. When you talk of hands-on and immersive technologies, you see, one of the outcomes of my PhD is the fact that we have previously focused on BIM, especially in Nigeria. We have previously focused on BIM for construction professionals, builders, architects, engineers, and so on. Nobody talks about the artisans, the craftsmen working. Now, one of that work in the industry, you know, the artisans that have to fix most of these facilities, or most of that needs to fix most of these facilities in the buildings, or towards the finishing stage of the construction. Nobody talks about that with respect to BIM and so on. Now, with immersive technology, things are changing, because one of the outcomes of my PhD, I noticed that why the rate of growth or rate of adoption of BIM and immersive technology has really not progressed as expected among the professionals. A test run that we have done amongst the students, artisans, and craftsmen shows that are really interested in this, because with the design, they can actually do a draft of whatever action they want to implement. And with visualization, you know, when we talk about BIM, we are not just looking at implementing everything. I've always advised that BIM should be implemented based on what the implementer plans to achieve. You know, for an artisan, the major aim may not really be collaboration. The major aim may be visualization. Imagine where you have a plumber being able to fix all those sanitary fittings on the system, knowing the type of pipes, the length, and so on, then just going to decide to just implement. So those are the kind of things we are talking about. And when we had this section with some plumbers here in Port Harcourt, they were excited about it. They didn't know that such technologies are out there in the world and even available in this country for adoption. So with this has really, really improved their confidence, because where you are able to now fixing virtually your fittings on your own, you get the dimensions and so on, it becomes very easy to go to the site and implement all this. Guesswork out of it, because most of the projects we do here, they are not, will I say, modular houses. You know, you have to finish the building first, the structure, before those service guys will now come in and start doing, providing their service along that chain. So this has really improved their confidence. With immersive technology, it becomes very difficult, very easy, rather, to actually see something or walk through virtually what you want to implement. And a single picture, like we always know, speaks more than 1,000 words. So once you're able to walk through it, it makes it very easy for you to understand the processes, the intricacies, and what is expected of you. And it builds your confidence, and it makes it very easy for you to give a quality output. Thank you.
Thank you, too. Looking ahead, what opportunities do you see for Nigeria construction education and workforce, and how will initiatives like DT4 TVET shape the future of the sector?
The DT4 TVET would actually shape the future of the construction sector, because one of the milestones we have in the project is the stakeholders engagement. We called it stakeholders engagement, where the outcome of this project will be discussed with the stakeholders, because we expect that it's going to change a whole lot of things. Now in Nigeria, we have what we call, under TVET, we have what the government is championing. They call it the Nigerian Skills Qualification Framework. Under the Nigerian Skills Qualification Framework, you have the National Skills Qualification, where on the National Skills Qualification, you have different skills, and the NOS, National Operational Standard, will now stipulate the knowledge, the skills, and the attitude every worker in our sector, like construction sector, ought to have before they can, for them to make progress and prosper in the industry. Now, one thing we've discovered, or one thing we've observed, is that in this National Operational Standard, there seems to be an absence of ICT inclusion in it. And that is what we're actually propagating now. We are having we plan to collaborate with different government agencies, Federal Ministry of Education, National Board for Technical Education. You have the professional bodies, Nigerian Institute of Building, Nigeria Society of Engineers, Council of Registered Builders of Nigeria, Council for Regulation of Engineering, and so on. Our plan is that once we have the outcome of this DT for TVET, the curriculum, especially for the training of technical personnel in the construction industry, will be enhanced to include this missing aspect of it, that is ICT. Because the NOS, National Operational Standard, makes provision for basically, manual things that should be done. I think the most thing one can actually use there would be the hand drill and so on. Everything is just about manual method of doing things. But if we are talking about automation in this era, we should actually bring in this ICT. That's actually the message we are passing out there, that this project will also do. Now, you also have and this also aligns with the expectation of the president of the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on the renewed hope to see how Nigerians can be trained and, of course, exported outside the country. It's a huge potential. Nigeria has over 70% of youth population. That is the statistics of the country. So, and this youth population, they have the strength, they have the zeal, they have the energy to actually do this. Once you put them on the right track, it becomes very easy for these skills to be adopted. And of course, the government can now take that, can of course outsource them or send them outside the country. I learned that some MOUs have been signed with some companies like UAE, and with this new technology, it becomes very easy for the people that will be trained to fit into their new environment. And of course, not just fitting in, they can also start bringing greater value. So looking forward, that is actually what we expect. And we also see this as a way of propagating the future of the construction industry so that we can now move away from the manual method of doing things and, of course, go fully into the digital implementation of things in our construction sector. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last question, especially on the topic future, what comes next for the DT4 VAT initiative? How does it continue its work to support hands-on learning and industry readiness?
Okay, now after this DT4 TVET, we like I just mentioned during the last submission, we are having a stakeholder engagement section, all right, to really propagate the outcome of this research. And that is actually what will come next, because we now have ambassadors in various schools. We have ambassadors in universities. We have ambassadors in polytechnics. We have ambassadors in all institutions where TVET is taught, right? So that they can start taking this good news back and see how to really push it from the end for the full implementation of immersive technology and, of course, BIM in their respective schools. And with the stakeholder engagement, we also expect that there may be some slight adjustments to most of the programs offered or being implemented by the current administration of the federal government, to see how we can bridge whatever gap we have in our skills development. Because the government is investing heavily. In Nigeria, the government is currently investing heavily on skills acquisition under the federal government, Federal Ministry of Education TVET program and funded by NEL Fund. So government is doing a whole lot of work, and we expect that this DT for TVET will also be implemented along that line, while we keep focusing on schools and, of course, the professionals. So our main target, we are looking at students who are the future of the industry. We are looking at educators who prepare this future of the industry. We are looking at professionals who are in the industry, piloting the affairs of the industry. And the fourth one, we are also looking at the policymakers, that is the government. You know, government really has a lot of work to do on this, and we hope that the needful will be done by government. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christopher, for the knowledge and experience you shared. I'm sure this will be very interesting and valuable for all of the students and professionals around the world. It was a pleasure having you today here with us. Yeah, till next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.